So we have a very nice team of editing people. So
Can
that
they get rid of my wrinkles and everything else?
there's no wrinkles, Rachel.
Like I was supposed to be going into London today, so I thought I'd be a bit more dressed up. And then when I wasn't going into London, I forgot I was doing this today. So anyway,
Do you have to get dressed up to go to London?
well, I need to put on some work attire. Yeah.
That's I think it's just boots and jeans everywhere we go here. So hi everyone from 1Route. I'm Jeffrey Ross and you're watching the 1Route Roundup, the show that spotlights individuals making a positive difference. Today we're joined by Rachel Gooden, currently the head of technology audit at Ocado Technology. Sorry, I fumbled with that one. She has previously been a senior manager for KPMG, senior manager at Deloitte, and head of metering and billing for Cellnet. Rachel is also a certified information privacy professional, EU, GDPR practitioner, a member of the Risk and Assurance Group Steering Committee, an avid runner, and has been known to give her time to others by coaching some roller hockey teams. Rachel, how are you? And thanks for joining the show.
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
So when was the last time you spent some time with the roller hockey teams?
A little while ago, actually. So both my kids got into it because we went to a roller disco.
Oh,
And the woman that ran this roller disco, I mean, I used to skate with them as well, so I taught them to skate. And the woman that ran the roller disco wanted to kind of do roller hockey around here because we don't have an ice rink. And so they got the England coach at the time to come in and kind of do a free lesson for the kids with a view to setting up the group. And I was kind of there skating around. And at the time he said, right, you need another coach. That woman should do it. And that's how I got into it. So, but my kids now kind of, we went through about 5 or 6 seasons. I mean, bless them, they did really well considering we'd never played before. But they stopped playing probably 4 years ago.
no,
They kind of got too old
that's okay. What
and
are
they
the
found other interests, unfortunately. So it's a while since I've coached a hockey team.
just are
So it was do
the
as I say, not do as I do.
is it the same as ice hockey? I mean, as far as the rules go, or
Yeah, yeah. If a ball, well, I think so. I mean, I don't. If the ball comes towards you, all I think is that's hard ball to get hit with. Um, so you duck. But yeah, yeah, pretty much. I think it's not as I don't think it's as violent, but it is certainly.
I only
I
ask.
wouldn't want to be on that pitch. Put it that way.
No, well, I don't blame you. That's
I
okay.
can shout from the side.
Well, Rachel, where in the world today are you?
I am in Rickmansworth in Hertfordshire,
I like it.
so about 20 miles outside of London.
Oh, no, there you go. Which direct? North, south, east, or west?
North London way.
Let's say for those of us that don't have Google Map in front of us right now.
Yeah, North London way. So I'm very close actually to Watford Football Ground.
Oh, okay. There you go. So, Rachel, a lot of times I'm always interested in people's journey and how they got to where they are today. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey on how you essentially ended up in audit? You know, is it something that you sought out originally, with going from privacy to audit, or is it just something that you learned you have a knack for?
I oh, do I have a knack for it?
Or...
My team would probably say no. Um, however, so I got into audit back in 1992 after I left university and I joined Cellnet. So I was looking for a job. I originally wanted to be an accountant, then decided after kind of doing my degree, I really didn't want to be an accountant. And so I was looking for a job in anything. And a job came up at Cellnet that was kind of half-time internal audit, half-time user support. The
Okay.
user support involved turning off and on the switch on the computer, but the internal audit side was a kind of bit more involved, and it was looking at kind of switch to bill. And so that's how my journey in internal audit started. And then we built up a team in Cellnet to basically the team grew. I think we got up to about 25 people within Cellnet, and we took on board the metering and billing Ofcom regulation at the time, and we kind of implemented call generators. We used to have a car that drove around with a call generator in as well. I know, yeah, we had some. It was a great time to be in telcos.
Exactly.
Great time. Yeah.
No.
So I have always been in audit, but it's kind of a bit of a funny audit in that we did the switch to bill audits.
Okay.
And looked at what was going on there. So at the time we had analog networks, and we were rolling out the GSM network. I think one of my favourite stories was the kind of amnesty to kind of get all the kit back to roll out the GSM network, because it was all in the engineers' garages. And so yeah, so that happened, and then I think I was involved in kind of setting up some of the roaming agreements, the first roaming agreements at Cellnet, and we used to go to various countries and to kind of test there as well. So it was loved telcos in the 90s. It was great.
Well, I mean, isn't that amazing? Because you and I, both of us can say that really wasn't that long ago. And I mean, especially you think about the grand scheme of things, that wasn't that long ago, and how it seems like, especially the last 10 years, how crazy things have just sped
so
up.
different.
Yeah.
It is so different. So yeah, it's mental. So that's how I started in audit. And then I went to Deloitte to do kind of more of the same audit. We did external audit, but was involved on the telco side. And then kind of got involved, did some work at pretty much all the telcos in the UK at the time. So I did work with WorldCom, Telewest when they were still around. Obviously they're not, they're not there now. NTL, Vodafone, all sorts of kind of telcos back in the day. So that was the kind of KPMG Deloitte kind of period. And then I took a break to have the kids, and then I went back to Ocado doing internal audit and technology audit in the retail environment.
That's so fun. I like it. Well, that kind of leads me into asking the next thing is, I mean, as we just said, as technology just grows at a rapid pace, not just in telecom, but in I feel like in all industries, really. How do you see this affecting the internal audit side, or the privacy and the internal audit side?
If I kind of look at my team, I mean, so the privacy side I kind of got involved with when I joined Ocado. So GDPR was kind of a thought in the, well, it was kind of in consultation at the time.
Okay.
So that was in, gosh, a long time ago now. A long time ago. So I was involved in kind of doing the program around GDPR. So in terms of audit and kind of what we're doing is that privacy side on the technology front is looking at, what data flow mapping, that understanding what data we've got, where it's going, how it's encrypted within the kind of so in the cloud environment we've got, how we protect that data. So I think from a technology side, it's all about security. And if you look at the makeup of my team, we very much audit security. Ocado does everything in the cloud. And so it's kind of, we've developed our knowledge around AWS, Google, and kind of all the nuances there, and about how it's been applied within Ocado, what data we're collecting, where we store that data, who's got access to it. So all of the kind of logical access, physical access, all of those controls we kind of within scope. And that's for me and as my audit team, that whole, moving from on-prem environments to the cloud environment has been a big shift in the way that we audit as well, and now developing our knowledge in that area.
Well, especially getting into what data stays within the country versus what data can leave the country. Yeah. And I'm assuming moving to a cloud environment is more, I don't know, does it make it complicated when you start looking from country to country, like GDPR versus we don't have GDPR over here, but
yeah, I mean, we've kind of, where we've gone through, I mean, originally when I first joined Ocado, and I suppose when we first started looking at this, if I step back a little bit, I work for a retailer. Well, I don't work for a retailer, I work for a technology company. That's what they want to be known at. But the retail side is they're selling the technology behind the retail side. So I think if you get the chance to look on the internet and you look at Ocado, you will see hundreds of bots running over a grid system. And so Ocado has developed all of the applications behind that. So those bots, we've got
That's
a hive,
so cool.
we've got totes within a hive, and the bots run over the top of the network and pull as somebody orders something, effectively it comes out and off it goes and down. And so Ocado has developed all of that. So it's that, but that new technology has been in the cloud. So since I've joined, it's kind of been we've used those environments. We still have on-prem, but it's, so it just, in terms of the kind of where does data reside, historically, we were looking to sell the technology in various countries, but originally all of our data resided kind of in the EU. I think, the privacy team, I've kind of stepped back a little bit from privacy recently, but if you would speak to our privacy team, they've had the kind of bigger difficulties as we've been selling to various international companies about where those GCP environments sit, but we can spin up those applications in whatever, we use AWS, we use Google, so we can spin them up in those areas.
Yeah. Y'all are doing amazing things.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it's fantastic.
Once you get me going, that's it.
It's fantastic. Y'all are doing amazing things over at Ocado. Is it Ocado?
Ocado, yeah.
Ocado.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll say it the Texan way. It's Ocado. Sorry. No. Well, and that's what it makes me think of. So a lot of the talks that we've had on this series is about collaboration. And so it sounds like there at Ocado, collaboration is key because you're dealing in so many different areas, not just areas, but with internally, but externally as well. So do you see good collaboration, or do you still see some barriers to collaborating within the industry itself? What do you feel?
So I think there's good collaboration. Certainly, I mean, I think we've got a number of forums like the risk, just taking the telco kind of risk, in the retail environment, we have similar things like that to kind of bring retailers together. And I think there is a certain amount of collaboration. I can remember, certainly around when GDPR was being rolled out, and it's called the BRC, and I can't remember what it stands for now, sorry, the British Retail something or other, but they did a lot around kind of bringing companies together to talk about what was happening in the kind of privacy space. So we do have that collaboration. I think within Ocado and within where we've sold the technology to, obviously we have to collaborate, because when we go out and we don't own the warehouse, but we own the technology within the warehouse. Okay. And kind of all of the warehouses need to be built to a certain specification to enable kind of all of our hive and everything else to be put in there, because it's got to be flat and it's got, the concrete's got to be to the right level, and there has to be collaboration.
No kidding. Yeah. So I have to ask, I think probably most people in their career has dealt with some form of an auditor or internal audit. Without throwing anybody under the bus, how do you see the collaboration of teams working with an audit team?
Within audit.
Is it one of those they see Rachel coming, they're like, oh no.
I think over the years, I think there is a certain amount of that still, like with auditors, isn't there? Because you're going to be audited, and ultimately at the end of it, you may get a report. I've always kind of, ultimately, we don't report to the business, we report to the audit committee, because we've got the kind of I don't know, I'm probably going to go too technical, but the 3 lines of defence. So you've got your kind of operational, your management layer. Okay. Second line is your infosec, risk department, say data protection kind of teams, and then your third layer is internal audit. And we kind of have a dotted line within Ocado to the CFO, but we report to the audit committee. Okay. And I think if you look at that, historically, people don't like being audited, do they? Because we are going to issue a report, and but we are there to report against the risks as we see it within an organisation, and that's hopefully we want things to improve. We want the operational efficiency to improve, and that's what we're there to do. So I would hope that there is some positive things coming out of that. We still get some resistance, but I've always said to my, within my team, I think we are reasonably laid back. We're there to do a job, and we will do our job.
Right.
But we also need to get on with the business, and therefore, if we think it's if we go into an area and it's potentially the first time we're going to audit an area, we could do it as an advisory piece of work, because ultimately we want the organisation to succeed. We don't want to hammer anyone if they're new at it or they're whatever. We could go in and do a piece of advisory work and kind of say, what about X, Y, Z? And take that on board. We'll come back and audit you in a year's time to do a proper report. And then, so it is kind of you can either go in and hammer someone, which is not the way to do it, or you can work with the business my team will kill me for saying this, to add a bit more value. But that's
but that's such a good point.
To improve.
That's such a good point, because I think a lot of times, and I am just as guilty, back when I was in the banking industry, here comes the auditors. But I think a lot of times, especially internal audit, gets a bad rap, quite honestly. You forget that they're part of the team, internally, you're part of the team to make the organization better. But don't get me wrong, when I was in banking, it was, here comes the auditor again, trying to, take me down.
We do get a certain amount of that, but I have to say, within Ocado, because it's all very much, everyone is lovely. I don't think I've ever come across anyone that is not willing to talk to you or help you, or whatever level.
Good.
It's a great environment to be in, and I think, it's one of the few places I've actually worked where people said, we want you to audit us. We want to improve what we're doing. And so I think that's a really positive. And if you start with that mentality, it's down for auditors, I think, to keep that kind of positivity going, if that makes sense.
It sure does.
Because if you go in and you hammer them, you're not going to get anywhere in the future. But actually, if they want to be audited and they want to improve, we can help.
Well, to the one person that is not being lovely to Rachel and her team, it's time to change your attitude.
There is no one. I haven't met one person.
Well, you know who you are. We're not calling you out by name, but time to turn it around. No. One more thing, Rachel. One thing that we've also been talking about is trying to gain perspective, or really share perspective with our audience that might be in other areas, other regions of the world. And this is going to go more towards the telecom side. But do you see any main differences in the way things are handled country to country, or is it, and this is, sorry, let me back up. This is going into the fight against fraud, combating fraud. Do you feel like after going to all these risk and assurance groups, are we all trying to do the same thing, combating fraud the same way? Or do you think each country has their own way of doing it and they're doing well at it? Or what do you think?
From what I've seen from the conferences that I've been to, I think you are all working in the same direction. You may have slightly different ways of going around it, but I think you are all. It would be really good if there was a lot more collaboration, as you kind of say, around how you do this. But I think actually, having looked at the conferences over the years, there's a lot more, people are talking a lot more openly about it. Okay. I think. Do you know, I was thinking earlier, because, so I'm going to go off a little bit on a tangent, but I was thinking earlier when I first got involved with RAG, very, very heavily into the privacy side, because we were trying to roll out the kind of GDPR program within Ocado, and figure out what we were kind of doing in that space. And coming to the RAG conferences, one of the things that struck me was around data and data analytics. And to me, telcos have been in the prime position since the word go, to collect data and to analyse that data. And I felt when I first got involved with RAG probably 5 years ago that the telco industry was lagging in that space. But I think over the last couple of years, the difference between, I think I did Kenya conference as well, and security as well, where they were talking about cloud, but it wasn't kind of really being used. And in New Orleans, the difference has been amazing. And I think fraud is the same thing. So where you're talking about data analytics and everything else and security in the New Orleans, I think, fraud has kind of come the same way. So it doesn't, I know fraud is your kind of thing. And
fraud
I
is
kind of
fraud.
twisted it a little bit. But I think, one thing that did scare me, and I'll twist it back again to the privacy thing, but the one thing that did scare me a number of years ago in one of the RAG conferences was talking about collecting data and the way of the future is to collect all this data on our children and to analyse that data and to take all the photos off the deep dark web and to analyse who they're standing next to, where they're standing, to come up with a risk profile from it. That scared the life out of me. And I think if anything comes out, so I have changed it completely from fraud, but
it's okay.
And that linking it back to the privacy, that's why I think privacy is there to protect our innocence. And we shouldn't be doing that with data. And I think that's the one thing that I've seen, we should be using our data to improve our services and to help the world progress, not to penalise someone with it. And I think, I think that's changed a lot in terms of data analytics and security that you're kind of talking about in those conferences. And I think fraud is the same. It's taken a little journey, but I think you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Sorry, long answer for a kind of short question.
That's a beautiful answer. I love it. That's fantastic. Okay.
You are too kind.
Well, so Rachel, now I think you might agree, may disagree, but I think we all go to these meetings or conferences like RAG. You talk to someone for maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes and you don't really get to know that person. I mean, truly know that person. You have a nice conversation and then part ways. But the good people over at the Late Show with Stephen Colbert came up with a questionnaire that apparently by the end of the questionnaire, you are a known person. Now, our good data scientists in the 1Route labs have tweaked that questionnaire just a little bit. And so we have 15 questions that by the end of it, you will be known. So Rachel,
Right.
are you ready to take the questionnaire?
I'm ready. Go for it.
Okay, Rachel, what is the best sandwich?
A Marks and Spencer's ham and cheese with mustard mayo.
Mustard and mayo.
Yeah, but it's you have to buy it from Marks and Spencer's in the UK.
Oh, that's
I'm sure you can get it abroad as well, but it's got to be Marks and Spencer's sandwich.
I like it. What is one thing that you own that you should really throw out?
Okay. Right, this is going to be really embarrassing.
Can't be that bad.
So when I was little, I used to suck my thumb and my finger like this. And I used to walk about with one of my dad's old vests. Yeah. And I still have it. And that is, no, it is, honestly, it's threadbare and I should probably throw it.
In that case,
but every time I look to throw it away, I think I can't throw that away. Because it reminds me.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. What is the scariest animal?
Shark.
Shark. There you go. Hold on.
Don't like to see because of the sharks.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges, but apples are easy to eat.
Yeah. Well, apples is typically the right answer, but
yeah, I would have said apples, but I like oranges, but I would always go for an apple because it's easier.
You know why apple's the right answer?
Why?
Because you can put peanut butter on an apple.
That's just wrong.
Have you ever asked? Have you ever asked anyone for their autograph?
I haven't.
That's okay.
Not that I can remember, no.
What is your favorite action movie?
So old movie. I don't know if you class it as action though. Leon.
Oh yeah. No, that counts.
If I had to pick a recent one, Fast and Furious.
Oh, the whole series, or do you have a preferred?
The last one was a little bit far-fetched. In fact, and number 8 was a little bit far-fetched.
What is your favorite smell?
Now, there is a bush that grows. I think it's called a Herbie New Zealand something or other, shrub type thing, and it kind of, when you touch the leaf, it smells.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
it.
sorry.
No.
I don't know the actual name of the plant, but whenever I walk past it, it reminds me of where my family grew up.
Phenomenal. What is your least favorite smell?
Cinnamon.
Interesting. That's cool. What was your first cell phone?
I would say Nokia, but I'm not 100% sure. And I bear in mind, we used to go around testing the big old blocks, the analog. You remember the kind of
Yes.
engineer? We had phones that kind of that size that we used to carry about.
They're back to that size now.
But I think it was. I do think it was. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was some sort of Nokia or Ericsson, which doesn't narrow it down.
That's
But I
okay.
said to you, the one that sticks out, and my favourite phone was the Pebble.
Pebble?
Yeah, it was cool. I think it was a Nokia Pebble. It was my favourite, and it was pink as well, and it just looked round and like a pebble.
I like it. Do you prefer flat or sparkling?
Sparkling.
Everybody likes a party.
Oh, yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Do you like your coffee just black, or do you doctor it up a little bit?
It either has to be black or it has to be all milk, but no mixture.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
What is the most used app on your phone?
Fitbit.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but
That's a good thing. Oh,
right.
you get one song to listen to for the rest of your life, and only one. What would it be?
That band I found loving.
You knew that one right off the top. That's fantastic. Okay. What number am I thinking of?
7.
No.
Okay. What were you thinking of?
It's divisible by 7. Well, I can't tell you the answer because other people still got to do this interview. It's divisible by 7. How's that? Describe the rest of your life in five words.
Family, friends, laugh, travel, and then die.
That is a good point.
Yeah,
Oh, Rachel, you are now a known person to whoever's watching this.
I don't know what they're going to make of all that, though.
No, it's fantastic. All that's left to do is roll out the red carpet. You look into the camera and tell us what is on the horizon for Rachel Gooden.
Oh, gosh. Lots of to continue enjoying what I do, to continue working with RAG, and meet lovely people like we met in New Orleans.
I like it.
Yourself
I like
included.
it. Thank you so much. And to our audience, make sure to subscribe, like, do all the social media stuff to keep up to date with who we're speaking with. Rachel, it has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Until the next go around. We'll see you later.
Oh, yes, definitely.